And now, marine weather around Alaska.
All right, for tonight we've got rain moving into the southeast coast with this weakening front here, the low well to the south and southwest. Diminishing showers over the interior with light winds and no change out over the Bering Sea. The only change here for the Aleutians might be some light rain trying to get into the Adak-Atka area with a little bit more of a breeze. And for tomorrow, that area shifts eastward into the eastern Aleutians. High pressure controls the Bering Sea through the weekend. And showers and thunderstorms along this trough axis tomorrow here, especially over the Copper River Basin and back to the west there. Also along the Brooks Range, otherwise sunny and warm in the interior. Rain, central, southern, southeast coast, more scattered shower conditions to the north. And for Sunday, scattered showers, mostly cloudy skies for the southeast coast. Afternoon showers and thunderstorms here across southern Alaska, but sunny and warm with temperatures into the lower 80s in many areas here in the interior from the Susitna Valley to the Koyukuk Valley and eastward. And for coastal water forecast, southeast winds 15 knots for the day Saturday, east-northeast on the central coast at 15 knots. West to north winds 10 to 15 knots on the north coast. Lynn Canal north at 10, northeast at 10 for Stevens Passage. Clarence Strait, southeast winds 20 knots with 6-foot seas. And for Sunday, pretty light winds here over the inside channels, anywhere from the south to southeast at 10 knots with 2 to 3-foot seas. And out here along the central and south coast, variable to west winds at 10 knots, west winds 10 to 15 knots on the north coast. Prince William Sound, variable winds at 10 knots. Cook Inlet, same forecast, light variable winds at 10. Eastern North Gulf Coast, light variable winds 10 knots. Western North Gulf Coast, northeast at 15. Then small craft advisories for the Barren Islands, northwest at 25 knots, west at 25 knots for Kamishak Bay. And for Kamishak Bay on Sunday, variable winds at 10 knots, southwest 15 for the Barren Islands. Cook Inlet, south to southwest breeze at 15 knots with 3-foot seas. North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, variable winds at 10 knots with 2 to 4-foot seas. Kodiak Island, west-southwest winds 20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet. In the Alaska Peninsula, variable to west winds at 10 to 15 knots. Southwest at 20 for Bristol Bay. And for Sunday, Bristol Bay still looking at a southwest wind at 20 knots with 4-foot seas. And west-northwesterlies 15 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. Southwest at 15 there across Kodiak Island. And for the eastern Aleutians on Saturday, east winds 15 to 25 knots. Northeast 20 to 25 knots for the central Aleutians. And the western Aleutians, northeast winds 10 to 25 knots. And for Sunday, variable to southeast winds, 10 to 15 knots for the western Aleutians. Adak-Atka, light variable winds, 10 knots, seas 3 to 6 feet. Eastern Aleutians, north to northeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. And for the southwest coast, we've got northwest winds tomorrow at 15 to 20 knots, northwest 20 for St. Lawrence Island. West at 20 for Norton Sound, St. Matthew Island, and the Pribilofs, variable winds at 10 knots. And for Sunday, northwest winds 20 knots, Yukon Delta Coast, St. Lawrence Island, Norton Sound. West at 15 for St. Matthew Island, light variable winds at 10 knots for the Pribilofs, and northwest at 25 for the Kuskokwim Delta Coast. Eastern Beaufort Sea tomorrow, east wind 10 knots, northeast at 10 on the central coast, 15 knots for the western Arctic coast. Chukchi Sea, light west wind 10 to 15 knots. Outlook for Sunday. North to west winds for the Chukchi Sea at 15 knots, north 15 for the western Arctic coast. Central coast, northeast at 10, and light winds for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline.